especially now, to every municipality during this current crisis. The pandemic, which came to us all as a surprise, showed the importance of being able to function flexibility and the importance of innovation, both on the human and tech level. Therefore, it is vital that the local authorities improve their innovation abilities at the human level via training staff and on the tech level by advancing programs such as these smart cities. In order to ensure this vision, it is important that we continue to share knowledge and best practices with one another. Events such as this are important for us all to learn how to implement changes which can both effective and sustainable. To that end, the Federation of Local Authorities in Israel annually hosts the Muni Expo and the conference, and I hope that you and we all could join us here in Tel Aviv in June for the 2021 conference. But if not, I hope that we can continue to use virtual platforms. For the meantime, please feel free to view the Federation of Local Authorities in Israel as your home address for things related to the Israeli West and diverse municipalities. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Ramos. Excellent. The positiveness is just comes through. It's wonderful. So not to delay, our next speaker is the Associate Professor, Global Management Studies and Affiliated Researcher, Center for Research and Sustainable Supply Chain Analytics of Rowe School of Business, Dalhousie University. Welcome, Deborah.
Hi, I have a pre-recorded presentation, so I'll just share my screen and start it up.
Thank you.
Hopefully you can see it.
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. It should start now. I hope. Oh, I guess it's in a second. Oh, here we go. No, it should just start automatically. Maybe it's different on Zoom. I sent it to you in advance. You have it, right?
Alex or
yes, I do have the file.
I sent because when I do it normally from home, it just starts up. It's already when it's pre-recorded.
I think Mary had that issue as well.
Maybe I have the wrong, 1 second.
Okay.
Oh, here, wait a second.
Hello, my name's Deborah.
Okay. Oh, maybe it's, oh, here. Okay, maybe.
Hello, my name's Deborah DeLang, and I'm going to talk about.
Here we go.
Great.
Maybe this will, sorry about that. There we go.
Sorry, Deborah, when you share screen, you need to also click to share sound as well. So right now we're not hearing any sound that you recorded with your PowerPoint.
Okay, it should. I can hear it on my side, so that's why.
So when you click when you press share screen,
Yes.
there is a small option at the bottom, like a small box that says share computer sound, and you need to click that in order if you want to share the sound that is coming out from your PowerPoint.
Oh, I see. I can't see it right now because I think I've shared the screen. Maybe I have to stop the share.
Yes.
I have to, so you said, oh,
Oh, Deborah, we can't hear anything now.
Okay, Deborah. I have your file, and because it is pre-recorded, I'll try playing it from here.
Yeah,
And
could you try that, please? Thank you. Sorry about that.
Trouble.
Hello, my name is Deborah DeLang, and I'm going to talk about international collaboration for sustainable urban development. This talk is based on a peer-reviewed published article in the Journal of Urban Affairs. We are facing urgent urban sustainability issues. How do we get decision makers to pay attention and act? I provide some answers. Simply put, we need to show them the money, and we need to show them leading peer solutions. Then I'll make some final remarks. First, I'm going to discuss some complex sustainability issues and opportunities. Climate change is the greatest global issue of our time, and cities must change accordingly. Measuring cities' greenhouse gas emissions is controversial, and whether we state them as being slightly less than 50% or 80% of total anthropogenic emissions, they are significant and must be dealt with. This slide shows how some cities are taking advantage of opportunities that are open to them as they address climate change. For example, autonomous electric vehicles discussed at a Move and On summit in Montreal represent climate change mitigation. And Vancouver has been planting lots of greenery to address flooding as part of climate change adaptation. A green recovery makes economic sense, and here we see more opportunities that are open to us in building green infrastructure and UNESCO's task force in building back better post-COVID-19. Green infrastructure can revive a post-COVID-19 world. We also see that even today, Toronto's green sector employs more than 60,000 people. But how do we convince decision makers that climate solutions are economic opportunities for cities, even though we see lots of examples to demonstrate that they are? Here is another example where a green innovation is a tree improving the environment at a bus stop, such that the study shows that waiting time feels less when we're sitting in nicer environments, in greener environments. So we have lots of value in many types of green innovations, whether they're autonomous electric vehicles or trees. But how do we help decision makers to understand the value of these green innovations to their cities? In terms of issues, we seem to be making the wrong choices in Canada. Why is it that building pipelines for a declining industry gets more attention than, for example, landscape architecture that produces long-term innovative jobs? Why is it that green innovation is not discussed as much in Canada? Another sustainability issue in Canada is that we seem to choose old technologies over new technologies. Why would we choose old fossil fuel technologies over 100% renewable energy when we have a Stanford study that says that we can implement 100% renewable energy in over 139 countries, and that includes Canada? And that is with wind, water, and solar, not including nuclear. And moreover, more jobs are created using green innovations, 100% renewable energy, than with fossil fuels. Why is this not being discussed in Canada? So given many complex barriers, how do we motivate decision makers to choose green innovation? We have to show them the money, and my study does. It shows them that green innovation relates to higher city GDP per capita. But we get claims from special interests, for example, that parks are expensive. And they have the ear of decision makers. Even though none of these types of objections relate to citizens' interests, the special interest groups get the attention of decision makers. So we still have to economically justify green innovations. My study empirically demonstrates, using an OECD metropolitan database including 281 metro areas. This is an important study needed to support urban planners around the world. Planners intuitively understand the importance of green innovations, but they still need to justify green innovation and pollution control investments on an economic basis for decision makers. Another way to get decision makers to choose green innovations is to show them leading peers solutions. And a further point that this leads to is that international engagement should be a regular part of city governance. Successful peer cities are influential. International forums are where cities learn from each other. For example, at C40 Cities, the Global Covenant of Mayors for Climate and Energy, and Sister Cities International. Leading cities influence peers to choose certain paradigms. For example, complete streets have become very popular and well known around the world. Cities mimic to reduce their own risk. And I have stories about Changwon, Korea, and Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, both C40 cities, looking to other leading C40 cities for solutions that they adapt to their own environments. At international city forums, cities share innovation experiences, and the findings of my research are that membership in C40 cities is associated with higher city GDP per capita. Also, more city forum memberships is associated with higher city GDP per capita. And furthermore, the combination of more city forum memberships and greater city innovativeness measured by higher patent activity is associated with higher city GDP per capita. Engagement advises a city on how to direct its innovation efforts. I'm now going to summarize with some key points. Overall, we need a green recovery. It does make economic sense. Investments in green innovations are associated with city wealth, according to my research. A collective view is generated by OECD country peers at C40 meetings that exemplar cities' green innovations work, and this happens through normative pressures and mimicry. Many international memberships reinforce this collective green view. International city forums enhance urban governance processes. International engagement should be considered a normal part of urban governance. This study shows OECD city success as a benchmark, instructive for other cities developing urban governance practices. So we have a green bottom line here. Cities use learning through international city memberships to direct innovative capacity towards successful green innovation, increasing city wealth.
Excellent timing. Thank you so much, Deborah. Excuse me. And our next speaker will be the president and founder of the Gandichi organization. Masood, are you there? There you are. Could you take your microphone off, please? Thank you. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me here today.
Great.
All right, so I can start?
Yes. Yep.
All right. Okay, so the subject of development is a complex topic with many variables. As natural resources have been consumed through numerous approaches to urbanization, any fundamental change should take place by defining patterns of public participation and the presence of non-governmental sectors, individuals, organizations, and institutions of development. The development process is an inclusive movement that is being promoted by those who feel a sense of duty to the world's urban future. In these terms, it is necessary to review current development models. These models will be optimized through a mutual understanding of the facts, limitations, and problems that have ensued. An important parameter in urban development is housing and habitation. The quality and quantity of housing depends on many factors, primarily the needs of society and a viable urban economy. Housing development programs are diverse both nationally and globally, and should be understood in terms of position and scale. The presence of people in the definition of leading models and public programs, from funding to participation in defining very vibrant cities, ensures a better urban future for children. It is thought that common models of habitations are not enough for the world's urban future. Therefore, we should try to put new models into action. Initiatives are not experienced primarily because of high risk and unknownness, but change is the result of new experiences, creativity, and innovation. Accordingly, the government should support public institutions and the development sector to ensure strong investments and reasonable profits for a strong and sustainable urban economy. My experience in working with Urban Economy Forum shows that by defining expectations for scientific and development cooperation with scales of economy and new paths to a better urban future can be provided using effective development processes. With this in mind, it is my hope that the Urban Economy Forum, with the cooperation of the development sector, will continue to find and introduce best urban practices and models both in Canada and globally for the realization of a strong urban economy and municipal finance. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You have a few more minutes.
Yeah, I'm done.
That's wonderful. We appreciate that. Thank you. We're saving our questions till the end. The next speaker is the chair of the UN Habitat Professional and Deputy Chief Administrative Officer for the City of Beaumont, Canada. Welcome, Eleanor. Could you turn your mute off, Eleanor, please? You're still on mute. There we go.
There we go. Sorry, the host was blocking me from unmuting. So it's an honor to be here with you today. I don't want to claim chair. I'm the co-chair of the UN Habitat Professionals Forum, as well as the Deputy Chief Administrative Officer for the City of Beaumont here in Alberta. I'm also a member of the Global Planners Network and the Commonwealth Association of Planners and the Canadian Institute of Planners. I'm pleased to be speaking with you from the traditional territory of Treaty 6, home of the Papachaise Nation, and I acknowledge all those who share a deep connection with this land. It's important that we respect the histories, languages, and cultures of all of Canada's First Peoples, whether they be First Nation, Métis, or Inuit descent, and appreciate that their presence continues to enrich Canada's vibrant communities. Collectively, Canadians are all treaty people. I think we can all agree that 2020 has been a year like no other for cities. From a philosophical, societal, health, environmental, planning, and economic perspective. It has been devastating, mentally challenging, enlightening, and inspiring all at once. It has changed all of us in one way or another. But we have yet to see really which path we are going to be on as we continue forward, fight, and emerge out of this. But what are we really emerging from? Which emergency? Housing, health, economic, climate change? Some of these things we can't emerge from. We must learn to adapt to situations and scenarios at a scale we've never seen or experienced before. Knowing now how much we don't know, what are the theories and actions or best practices from what we do know that can actually help us? What can we apply to the day-to-day at the community level involving all social demographics that can collectively and positively move us all forward? I think it's safe to say that many of the beliefs, systems, policies, and actions that brought us here are not going to be what successfully guides us and supports us into the future. So where does that leave us? Over the course of 2020, we have witnessed some incredible events. How quickly the human race can mobilize or not in a global health emergency, and how reliant that mobilization has been on societal values and ideologies versus a country's wealth. How one event can change how we view and utilize technology almost overnight. A change that instantly included many segments of society and allowed voices to break through that were previously not heard. It also instantaneously left behind those without access and impeded many with other life and personal obligations. How the world slowed down just enough to pay attention to the horrific injustices and murders inflicted on Black, Indigenous, and people of color. But not just to pay attention, to listen, debate, and for many to look to stop unconscious and conscious bias and racism. To start dismantling structural and systemic racism by marching in the streets, taking to social media, and examining the patterns and society that we all engage with. These events have shown us opportunity, resilience, empathy, and innovation. They have also provided clues to experts, academics, all levels of government, economists, and professionals, and on how we can capture success in rethinking systems, structures, and policies. How leading with diversity, recognition of all demographics, cultures, basic human needs and rights, values and communities, along with our many connections to the environment, must be our top priority. That outdated notions of one size fits all for governance and policy development is no longer useful or relevant. These events have shown us that we might be residing in one of the most unpredictable times in human history. This is not a friend for those of us who rely on whole-scale projections and long-range regulatory policy and tools. I believe now that the focus needs to be on inclusive engagement, developing enabling policy, incentives, and new best practices through quick turnaround innovation and pilot projects that can be shared and implemented worldwide in respective local contexts using real-time technology. This can further build upon the modalities and tools that UN Habitat is currently using for knowledge generation and sharing amongst partners and stakeholders. In this day and age, a best practice shouldn't be a best practice for long, as it is replaced with a new iterative that addresses the speed of changing contexts, local environments, and diverse human needs. In conclusion, we are witnessing disruption after disruption to cities and towns across the world. We are learning more about how we actually want to live in the urban context, rather than just accepting the status quo. We are also at a point in time where our choices, our ethical responsibilities to others, and the environment matter more than ever. This worldwide economic reset is proving to be very difficult and challenging. Yet I also see it as a positive opportunity to change course, to reevaluate priorities, and to collectively humanize it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Again, too, within our time limits. Riza, you must be impressed with this set of speakers. Everyone is following the rules really, really well. So next on our speakers list is the panel. And our first panelist is the Director of Institute of Sustainability in British Columbia Institute of Technology. Welcome, Jenny. Great. Unmute. Oops. Are you good now? Can you hear us?
Good now. Yes. Thank you very
Great.
much. Thank you for having me. This has been a really fantastic breakout group and also the entire session. So I'd first like to thank Reza Provaziri for organizing the Urban Economy Forum. It's been great. And Delia, thank you for keeping us moving in a timely fashion, and to all the speakers. So my comments, I will keep them brief so we stay on time. First of all, I want to recall something that stuck out for me earlier, which is Edward Lopez Morano's comments that the seeds of our challenge are really our cultural basis in terms of what we choose to believe. He took the anthropological paradigm that we're working within. And I think that that's reflected in Eleanor Mohammed's comments that, you know, we are choosing cultural challenges. And so with that, I'd like to acknowledge as well, learning with peers, that I am speaking today from the traditional unceded territories of the Coast Salish people here in Vancouver. And I think these practices are really important. When we talk about theory to action, it's simply starting to do and starting to reflect that our values are more than, I'll put a challenge out to Deborah, more than just money. But it is true that this is the concept that has driven most of our actions today. So for an Urban Economy Forum that's going to talk about sustainability going forward, we really have to wrestle with the reality that there are more ways that wealth is experienced through ecological integrity and through social well-being that money as a symbol of our values simply cannot translate for. And so this essential piece, I think, is the equity-led solutions that we heard from Mary Rowe and James Pasternak and Ramzides talking about where they're leading with these important initiatives and the way that it can transform our actions, because certainly the rate of change that we're seeing, I love that comment, COVID is the accelerator, particle accelerator for our times. This is coming faster and faster now. It's been predicted for many years. People who've been looking at sustainability and systems change. We are in the throes of many crises. We were still having a climate crisis. Food insecurity is coming, water challenges. These things are all a polemic that are interlinked. And so we can't get to sustainability with the old thinking that got us into the very same problems that we're facing. And so this is, I think, the big shift. So that transition, looking at co-benefits and starting to realize that the way we're going to get there is through a social justice-led equity lens that looks at inclusivity and diversity and enables us to think carefully about what does it really cost and who's benefiting and who's paying. Because ultimately in cities, we're all paying for this. And we all have to figure out how we're going to internalize these other values around ecological integrity and social justice, because the longer we don't, the greater and faster the impacts are coming. And so hunkering down isn't going to solve the problem if we haven't changed the source of those problems, which is the way that we've chosen to value natural capital versus man-made capital in our economies, for example, or social cultural capital. So I really find today's talk very progressive. Also, just a shout out to Monica from KPMG and what she was sharing with what's going on in the Eurocities work. This is the kind of direction I think that we're going to see taken more and more and faster conversations that even 5 years ago would have been considered on the fringe are quickly internalizing and mainstreaming out of necessity for where we need to go in the future. And this is stuff that the concepts have been around for a long time, but we just haven't seen the mainstream absorb and embrace them. We've been too long dependent on a growth economics, which assumes that trickle down will benefit the majority without really fully reconciling what does it mean when we discount the future, design for built-in obsolescence, liquidate resources faster than they can be regenerated, and move more money into the hands of a wealthy minority than into the hands of the many in the middle class and the poor. And so I'll just leave you with one more thought. In the last 10 years, if global wealth on an equity lens has gone from 0.8 to 0.9, where 1 is absolute inequity. One person owns all the world's wealth, and we've moved from 0.8 to 0.9. So certainly business as usual isn't an option, and I don't even think bouncing back better or building back better is an option, because it still has the residual unsustainable assumptions of our culture within it. I think we need to take this opportunity to bounce forward and really embrace ecology and social justice as inalienable things that money can't be a value for. And how do we do that in a sustainable urban economy? That's what I think our challenge is today. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Jenny. The next panelist is the Executive Director for the Ontario and North of Canada Office of the David Suzuki Foundation. Welcome, Yannick.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
So I'll just say copy paste, Jenny. We're done.
No, you have to do more.
I think it's a great place to build on. I also want to also link to the cultural aspects of worldview and how we design our systems and our things like the economy. So David Suzuki Foundation has offices across the country on many Indigenous First Nation territories, and our experience and work with First Nation partners, clearly shows us and shows everybody how alternative and different and parallel worldviews play an important part in how we create systems as human beings, right? And so what struck me a lot about today's presentations really is the intersectionality of things when we're always asking for many years now, 20, 30 years, just economy, inclusive economy, green economy, clean economy. But we very, very, very rarely hear any discussion about just economics, clean economics, green economics, and sustainable economics. And so the challenge that cities have, they're kind of victims, right, of something that comes down from the macro. As an economist, I really love the macro systems, but cities, especially in Canada, for example, don't really have a policy say on whether or not our obsession with more and bigger and more material and more money, is something a city government, for example, can influence. People living in a city, of course, through democracy and voting can have a say. But if you're not aware of how these systems have even come to be, then we have that challenge. A lot of time, like right now, recently, our foundation is trying to assemble Canadians over the next little while to kind of replicate something that happened after the last great crisis, apparently, World War II. A lot of politicians recently have been equating COVID to a battle, and we have to get to the end of the battle, we have to win the war. Well, the last time we did that, we actually brought people together, and they got 3 weeks to design this system. What was remarkable of that piece is, their intent was clear: peace, let's not have another war. That was about it. And then there was no diversity. Half the human population was represented, so men, and absolutely no other cultural perspectives. So when you live in a city like Toronto, like I do right now, 180 languages spoken, give me 3 weeks. I'm pretty sure we can do better, right? And those are really things where, because in cities you live, experience emotionally, intuitively, what's happening well or what's not happening well. Whereas maybe that aggregated global kind of governance level, even national governance, just sees a number, and they want that number to go up. They don't know what the number means necessarily. And literally, I've had a lot of conversations over the last few months with our own finance ministry, where one of the most powerful questions they asked me was why we felt the economic model, the system, had to be paused, or basically came to a screeching halt, and then government had to intervene to ensure the quality of life of individuals. Shouldn't an economic model be completely designed, purpose-built to have that as its actual core reason to exist? It could. We chose not to, but it could. So I think now we're finally seeing this kind of, again, due to COVID, you're seeing an unraveling, a deep unraveling into the middle of the onion for the first time in a long time. That core isn't core operating system doesn't even know what we're trying to do when we talk about social justice, activism, inequities, and all these injustices, environmental. None of that exists in that operating system. The core algorithm is still remaining the same. It has since all the years I've worked in the UN, working on the SDGs before they were called SDGs. It's still, how quickly can you convert nature to money using the cheapest possible labor? If we do not get together and reimagine that purpose, cities will continue to be victims, and the people who live in the cities will continue to be victims as well. So kind of like what Jenny was saying, the old Einstein quote, if you're not changing the tools or the metrics that got you to this problem in the first place, you can't expect those tools and metrics to suddenly produce something different. So I think it's been really wonderful to see all the talks today about those intersectionalities, those things we want. And now we suddenly have a moment in time where reimagining with full cultural diversity what it could actually mean to have an economy. What is the purpose of an economy? And then code that right into the system.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you very much, Yannick. Our final panelist today is an architect. Parisa? Hello? I can't see. I'm not sure. Is Parisa here?
Hello?
Oh, there we go. Thank
Hello.
you. Welcome.
Hi. This is Parisa Amiri. I'm an architect, Toronto-based architect. I have my own practice, and I like to be focused on more small projects, and I want to bring the attention to these small scale-up projects that I'm mostly involved. In my field of work, I'm mostly focused on small residential projects, single-family homes. This is my topic is who builds cities. This is a topic and challenge I have had in my profession. Is it government, planners, municipalities, architects, investors, builders, contractors? Who really builds cities? How this dynamic happens? Who brings new norm of beauty? Is it needs or wants? I'm talking about smaller scale of the housing because The focus of my practice is on this kind of a project, where I believe contains majority of the society, at least in my hometown. And what we saw during the pandemic, people are not willing to live in small condo spaces anymore and left downtown condo to out of the core for living, for having a bigger spaces. Unfortunately, affordable neighborhoods in the city are changing and not affordable. They were affordable, those areas were affordable, and now it's not affordable anymore. For instance, I can talk about the neighborhood that I work the most, East York. Here was affordable, welcoming new updated affordable house and adapt new norm of living. However, by rapid increase in the house price back in 2017, most of the small builders and investors came to this neighborhood, and for that reason, having an upgrade house here is not affordable anymore. We talk about affordability, but what we see and experiencing is non-affordability since last 10 years, by the home prices increased. I think to support affordability, we need to pay attention to details. Almost all focuses are on bigger scale projects, although once small scale projects gather together, create bigger scales. Like except along the main road of the city, all the other spaces in the city are contained single family homes. So it's very important to pay attention to this scale as well. We need to educate people and public for what the quality of space means. And I believe by doing that, many non-necessary and non-quality things are not welcoming anymore and leads to more affordable yet uplifting spaces. The benefits are back to the city by using optimum material, save more energy, lowering living costs, save ecosystem more, and creating spaces that keeps users safe and happier. Health and safety of the public ties to better spaces and benefit the public and all the parties involved. Building cheap and cheerful can be helpful, perhaps. This is what I wanted to talk and bring the attention to this small scale, and I end my presentation here.
That's wonderful. Thank you. I think you're right. You know, it doesn't matter on the size of the project. It's everyone moving in the right direction. So thank you very much to our speakers and to our panelists. I have been cued that we will not have an opportunity to have questions and answers. We'd rather have everyone have 1 more minute for one more wrap up, if that would be okay with everyone, because we do need to move on to our session 2. So if I could start with James again, if there's something you'd like to just tie up for us. Oh, sorry, James, I'm trying to unmute you. There we go. Thank you.
Sorry?
Yeah, there was a little bit of interference.
Michael Rubino would like to speak with you eventually.
Help. I don't know where that came in from.
No, I think that was coming from
Okay, so we're doing this to you again, James. If you would just like to give a quick recap, if you want to. If not, that's fine as well.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, the point I was trying to make in my talk is, and this is something, a trend I've noticed over the last 10 years I've been in council, is worldwide, and certainly at the local level in Toronto, people have realized that it's the municipality that is the level of government that affects people the most in their day-to-day lives, in the quality of their life, in the way they can run a business or raise their children or send to a local school. The livability, the sustainability, the resilience, it's all driven primarily by municipalities. And the point I was trying to make is it's important. When I read through that list of things that we've done in recent months under the pressure of the pandemic, and then of course housing now came before the pandemic, that it's important that municipalities get things done. Of course, they have to make smart choices and the right decisions. But I think that at the same time, people are willing to trust their local government if they can make decisions quickly to help commerce prosper and to make sure their communities are safe and resilient. And those are the sort of the new realities. I don't want to take anything away from our federal and provincial counterparts, but it's really with 80% of Canadians in cities, the onus on developing policies to make things livable and prosperous and safe falls on mayors and their city councilors. And I thought this might have been a little dramatic, but he calls his book "The Nation City: Why Mayors Are Now Running the World." Well,
very nice.
sounds like a group of megalomaniacs, but you know what? There is a point to that. And I just finished the book a couple of days ago, and it is so true. So that was my point in a nutshell, that we can do a lot of small things that do not negatively impact people to make life better for the wider city. And I think that's something that that we all have to look at as municipalities. I will make one other point, and probably over my 2-minute response.
Yes, you are.
When I ran for office 10 years ago, if you said bike or bike lane in the area I represent, you could not get elected. You just wouldn't get elected. People would turn against you. This spring we put in bike lanes up 2 streets in my area. Enormously popular. Mostly feedback, some objections, but mostly positive and excitement. And we also brought bike share to my ward, which is also extremely popular. So things change, and a lot of that is millennial driven. So times change, and governments have to work with those changes and change with the times. I'll leave it at
Thank
that.
you. Thank you very much, James. Next, Mary.
You're welcome.
Unmute. I'm trying to unmute you, Mary.
Yep.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just one caveat on what James just said. So yes, it's all about cities, and I'm an advocate for this too, but let's just be clear. This means that municipal governments and municipal elected officials like James have to put your big boy pants on, James. You know what I'm going to say. You've got to use the powers that are given you. The City of Toronto, under the City of Toronto Act, has measures that they continue to not implement. It's very hard to advocate for more powers, but in fact, governments won't do it. That's the first thing. The second thing is we've got to try to find a way for local government leaders to overcome NIMBY. We've just got to find a way, because as long as you continue to make decisions that are influenced, where the elected official is only listening to the adjacent neighborhood and isn't willing to have a broader perspective, I don't know what the answer is on this, but I want to give as many powers and as much authority to you as we possibly can. But that means you've got to assume your full height and be those stewards. And so that's why I want you to have more powers to tax us. I want you to collect taxes from me, and then I'm going to hold you accountable for doing the job. Because at the moment, it's just so easy for everybody to blame the other order of government, right? So we've got to get to a place where there's no more running and hiding.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Mary. Ram, I'm trying to unmute you as well. There we go.
Okay. Yes. 2 things. First of all, I think that psychologically people hold on to what they know, and to the familiar things that they know. And it's an instinct to them. Now, we have a chance that this instinct could be changed if we give them some sort of a hand, so that they can find the way, and we can lead them to let's say, the green way. Now, the municipalities in Israel are trying to do it by moving to the online services, or by even zooming its, let's say, traffics, many infrastructure that going on now, it's because the less of traffic due to the closure. So I think this is some sort of a time zone that maybe the metrics, as you said, can change. And one thing's good that came out from this COVID, that we meet our neighbors, and we need to remember that maybe we lost something, and if we find it, we should grab it. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Just trying to mute you. Deborah, are you here? You're on my second page, I believe. Sorry. Oops.
I'm here. I'm just having problems muting. Sorry.
Okay.
So I just want to say that I really enjoyed everyone's comments, and I want to make everyone here, all of us, aware, because I'm part of this constituency of you know, set a point of views that you know, there is sort of a you know, relative consistency in the point of views that are espoused in a forum like this. But you know, I'm a business professor in a business school, and I'm part of a wider area of academia, which is business administration and management, where I'm not the main constituency. And for me to talk about sustainable development and even the kinds of studies I do, you know, I'm not the mainstream. And so what I'm saying to us as a group, we need to deliver messages that will be inclusive of all of that, you know, other part of the world, or not all, you know, other constituencies that don't even understand the terminology sustainable development. It's intimidating to them. They might understand economic development, but they don't understand that sustainable development is inclusive of that, for example. They think it's a challenge to it instead. And so I'm completely misunderstood, and I'm put into a bucket with ethics. And they don't understand that this is about changing the way the world works in, you know, huge ways. And that even, you know, our universities and the way we teach students in business schools needs to be completely changed. You know, my orientation is into the direction of the UN Sustainable Development Goals. But for me to talk about that in a room of, you know, my peers, they don't want to hear it. So there are other constituencies out there, and they are a big part of our population as well. And we need to learn to deliver messages, or somehow bring them into this, because otherwise we are going to continue to have a lot of trouble changing in the right way. And that for me is a green recovery post COVID-19. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deborah. Masood? Okay, I just need to flip my page. Are you still with us? Oh dear.
I think Masood had to leave because of schedule. I think we can move on to Eleanor.
Thank you. Eleanor?
Right. Okay, thank you. I think apart from what I spoke about earlier, putting my municipal hat on, I think the municipalities are really in need of a change of systems, and systems that are less regulatory and more flexible. We often hear about the mega cities, the big 6 cities in Canada, but there's other cities across Canada as well that don't have the expertise and resources, but are expected to provide the same services, which makes it very complex. And I think I don't think there's a municipality in Canada that's not being expected to do more with less. And I happen to be in the province of Alberta, where they really expect you to do more with less. So an outcome of that is a change in philosophy in the municipality, from being very bureaucratic, system-oriented, to more entrepreneurial, and looking for investment in places that we've never looked before, and partnering with partners internationally that no one would expect us to partner with. For instance, the city of Beaumont, we're only 20,000 people, but we were the first ones in Canada to pilot an electric autonomous vehicle that could read through traffic lights. And we threw it on our main street without regulations. We just blocked off the lane and we went. Now, Burtons are kind of known for our entrepreneurial crazy spirit, and we took advantage of that. And then we worked with the province to come up with regulation. Now, most people will go, okay, well, that's awesome. You know, that's a great sustainability initiative. You're looking at it from a climate change perspective. But we didn't look at it from a climate change perspective. We looked at it from an economic development perspective. And the next thing you know, we had investors from China all of a sudden calling the city of Beaumont, this little place of 20,000 people, asking about how they can invest in our community. Then we found ourselves getting ahead of the curve, and then everyone wanted to be our friend. And there's only 3 of us kind of running the show, trying to build this. So that's a struggle that we have in the municipal world, and a big change that we really need to see. And it also begs the question of who's working in municipalities now. What are the professions that we expect? It can't just be an army of economists and planners and engineers in the large cities when we need the same folks in the smaller places. So that's why when I spoke today, I spoke about total change and from the community up. And like everyone else had said, we're looking at a whole scale, different view of what economic development is, and really in the municipalities as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, next, Jenny. Can we have Jenny unmuted? There you go.
Hi there. Yeah, no, I think this is a really, oh, sorry, I'm very bad timing here. Sorry, it's been a great conversation. And I guess the last thing I would say, I do a lot of work with the City of Vancouver. I really love the way that these forums are able to bring practitioners together with academics. I'm a bit of a walking both lines, but I do think if we're looking at the major transformations, also looking at policy alignment. So Eleanor's given some great examples of thinking out of the box and these different skills that our municipal practitioners need to bring to the table. So a holistic view, and then doing the exercise of where are we collecting tax money, albeit it's only very small amount, 8 cents per capita for all the services, but how are we investing in recreating the problems or the infrastructure that challenges us around sustainability, and where can we start to shift that to the kinds of things that we need to be moving towards nature-based solutions and towards an equitable economy front-facing challenge. So these things are all linked, and I really, again, applaud you all. It's been an inspiring opportunity. I'm used to also being on the outside, Deborah. So to be here with people talking about progressive change, and I think Deborah's observations about where we're at with traditional knowledge, it's going to change very quickly because we have to change, but how we help people get there faster is our challenge for local government. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Jenny. Yannick?
Awesome, thank you. I'll always, I feel like bringing the elephant that's sometimes in the room, into the room, money. So we always prevent or say that change can't happen until we have money. Well, Canada and New Zealand are probably going to be the only 2 G20 countries running a very opposite experiment when it comes to green recovery, COVID recovery. Our government has recognized that it actually owns its own bank. So I think where municipalities and provinces start leveraging that particular policy reality that exists right now over the next couple of years in its partnerships, let's not think that money is actually going to be much of a constraint. Let's actually think, how are we going to use that money for real social and environmental value, as opposed to 2008, which was basically a very unvaluable transaction. So just imagine for the next couple of years, money is not a problem. What would you do? And how would you put your plans together? And the reality is at least 2 countries are going to run that experiment. I have no idea where it's going to land. I actually think we're probably going to get at least some paradigm shifting, not necessarily 100%. But I think now's the time to start thinking down that path, that at least for the next couple of years, money will not be a problem.
Great. Thank you very much, Yannick. And finally, Parisa?
Yes, it was a great session, and I want to thank everyone. And today is World Architecture Day, and I just want to add, it's better to promote more architecture and more better spaces to public and educate people better to what's good and what's not good. And by doing that itself, people will go for better spaces, not for fashion one, and it leads them for better economy as well.
Absolutely, thank you. On behalf of the UAE, thank you everyone for the speakers and the panelists. It's been my pleasure to help assist and curate this session. We do need to help back on for 2:30, but I hope I haven't rushed anyone. I think we will be sharing everyone's contact and the slides, so that if we have any further dialogue or information that we can share with one another. It's a wonderful opportunity. Again, thank you from the bottom of my heart. It's been such great and inspiring comments, and everyone internationally for being here.
So Della, before we wrap up this session, we just have one more video from Nasser to play, who couldn't join us, but just share with us this video, and after playing this video, we'll move on to session 2 for theme 1.
Okay, so do we go back out into those breakout rooms again, or no?
So the speakers for the theme 3 will be assigned to the breakout room. So if you're a speaker for theme 3, please accept the offer to move to breakout room. Otherwise, if you're here for theme 1 session 2, then please reject it and just continue staying here.
Thank you.
روز بخیر. خوشحالم از اینکه فرصتی است. سلام، روز بخیر. خوشحالم از اینکه فرصتی است تا در کنار شما باشم. موضوع اقتصاد شهری یک مسئله زیربنایی در امر توسعه‌ای میباشد. مدیریت شهرها با موضوعات مالی متنوعی مواجه هستند، ولی در این حال سازمان اقتصادی و مالی محسوب نمی‌گردند و بیشتر یک سازمان توسعه‌ای قلمداد می‌شوند. این فاصله باعث می شود که مدیریت شهری امکان تمرکز و برنامه‌ریزی برای تأمین منابع و راهبری پروژه ها نداشته و طبیعتاً همواره مسئله تأمین مالی برای پروژه های توسعه‌ای به عنوان یک موضوع جدی باقی می ماند. از طرف دیگر گروه ها و ذی‌نفعان توسعه شهری نظیر فعالین حوزه املاک یا سازندگان مسکن و ساختمان تعامل مناسبی با مدیران شهری که بتوانند منافع عمومی را در بر گیرد ندارند. این موضوع مسئله بسیار جدی است که اکثر شهرها با آن مواجه بوده و ضروری است که نسبت به حل این موضوع تمرکز بیشتری نماییم. امروزه تجربیات ارزشمند فراوانی در ارتباط با توسعه شهری وجود دارد که قادر به ایجاد ظرفیت مناسبی می باشند، ولی متاسفانه این ظرفیت‌ها کمتر تبادل می شوند و نمی توانند به صورت شایسته در فضای توسعه مدیریت شهری نهادینه شوند. چالش جدی در این راستا شکاف بزرگی بین نظام مدیریت شهری و نظام‌های مالی و بانکی از یک سو و از سوی دیگر حوزه دانش، تجربه و همچنین راهبردهای اجرایی است. بر این اساس پلتفرم اقتصاد شهری و مالی شهرداری‌ها گفتگوی را بنیان نهاده و در این راستا برای ساخت و تقویت مفهوم منابع زیست شهری نقش موثری را ایفا نماید. از این رو ضرورت دارد که مؤسسات حرفه‌ای که کار اقتصادی و مالی انجام می‌دهند بتوانند پلتفرم‌هایی را به وجود آورند که با در نظر گرفتن منافع عمومی شهرها و با شناخت همه جانبه از وضعیت اقتصادی شهرها بتوانند سرمایه مورد نیاز برای تحقق توسعه پایدار شهری را فراهم کرده و این رابطه را به صورت مؤثر و ارزشمند تداوم بخشند. این مرکز دارای ماهیت توسعه‌ای خواهد بود که میتواند ظرفیت‌های نهفته شهرها را در جهت شکوفایی پیش برده و قادر است بنیاد ارزشمندی را در مسیر توسعه پایدار به وجود آورد. با توجه به نقشی که شهرها در تحقق اهداف توسعه پایدار دارند، ضرورت دارد که یک صندوق مؤثر توسعه به صورت بین‌المللی ایجاد شود و شهرها بتوانند در این حوزه سرمایه‌گذاری کرده و از تمامی ظرفیت‌های مشترک در جهت فراهم کردن منابع لازم و دسترسی آسان برای توسعه پایدار به صورت پیوسته استفاده نمایند. بر این اساس صندوق می‌تواند در چارچوب سازمان ملل متحد شکل گرفته و به عنوان یک راه حل برای تحقق برنامه‌های توسعه‌ای قلمداد گردد. انتظار می‌رود که این فورم نسبت به این رویکرد تعامل مناسبی داشته و در جهت حمایت از این ابتکار عمل تلاش نماید. همچنین امید می‌رود جامعه جهانی نیز مشارکت لازم را در این زمینه به عمل آورده تا بتوان این ظرفیت را بیش از پیش فعال کرده و منبع پویایی را برای شکوفایی شهری فراهم نمود. ممنون و سپاسگزار به خاطر وقتی که در کنار شما بودم.
Okay. Thank you so much. And now we conclude
Thank you.
Session 1, and now we'll transition into theme 1, session 2. So the breakout room that we created before, which is named theme 2, session 1, is actually becoming theme 3, session 1. So if you're speaking for theme 3, please, when we assign you, accept the assignment and move to the other room, but otherwise please reject, and you can continue staying here for theme 1, session 2. Okay, so for
can I ask?
Yes.
Hello, can I start?
Hello, I'll make you a co-host. And just to confirm, so we have Edmondo